Well, here we are. We're working on the Coronet, as you might be able to tell by the green paint. So I'll just start off like this. I learned something new today, and it took way too long to learn it, and it's very frustrating. So this is a typical shank style lug nut, and this is a Cragar. The two go together 99% of the time. Well, here's that 1% of the time where it doesn't. As you can see, these are direct drill. And I'll get you a close-up later, but these actually are tapered. So they use a typical acorn style, a lot of people call them, lug nut. And it's a 60-degree taper, and it fits right in there. But I didn't realize they were tapered at first, so I tried to put the shank lug nuts on, and I'm sitting there and I'm fighting it, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this thing? Why is it not working? Well, new wheels, direct pattern. Believe it or not, Cragar finally went to a tapered style, conical style lug nut. So, you learn something every day. Hopefully that saves somebody a little bit of a headache like it gave me a headache today. Now, they make these normal, standard lug nuts that you would replace your factory lug nuts with, just to add a little shine, a little bit of chrome to your wheels, whatever factory replacement style lug nuts, which is like this. But they make some of them that have about a third to a half of an inch of shank, which I'm going to be ordering for these because they just seem a little bit stronger, a little better, and I would feel a little bit better about it if there's a little more strength holding that wheel on. Because the thread engagement is okay, but with factory length studs, it's not great. So adding that extra, third to half inch, it makes it a lot better. So the reason these don't work is these typically are about 0.68 of an inch across right here. And the actual hole diameter for this style wheel is 0.61. So they don't even come close to fitting. The other thing I'm doing on the car here today, if I can get this wheel out of the way without crushing my foot, that would be nice, is you can see I've already started, but I've been replacing wheel studs. And the reason for that, first of all, these ones they were said to be factory replacement, but they're actually about a 1/4 inch longer, which with our little lug nut thing, until I get the correct ones in, that actually helps out, gives you an extra few threads of engagement. So that's a nice little bonus that ended up being a little longer than factory. But this car, when we got it, had 4 lug nuts on this side and 4 on the other side. And I've been screwing around with wheels and tires on this thing and just doing whatever people do. And I did strip one of the lug nuts out. So I today put one in where one was missing, replaced one, and replaced another one. So I'm going to pull this drum off. And set that down. And I'm going to replace the last 2 here. So the other thing you can do is you can kind of turn the wheel to where you have room, because there's this kind of bar up here and you can't really fish one in behind there. So yeah, we'll knock a couple of these out and I'll show you how I put them back in, and maybe somebody will learn how to do that. This is my first time doing it. It was I didn't quite get it at first because I was having a hard time just getting them to draw through, but a little bit of WD-40 helps draw them through a lot better. So I figured that out pretty quick. So I'm going to knock these out. These usually take a few swings. So I'll try to cover the mic here. There's one. Like I said, that bar is in the way, so. stubborn one there. And there goes that one flying. So I'm going to get this turned a little bit so I can get that other one out. And then I got my replacement studs from Jegs. You can get them from anywhere, but got a really good deal on them through Jegs. So definitely recommend going that way if you need new studs. So you get them lined up, you get them as square as you can, and all I do is, if I have my washers here, is I stack a couple washers, and I use my tapered lug nut. So I'll start with this upper one. Stack a couple on there, thread it on by hand. And then I could run it down with the impact, but it only takes a minute to do it like this anyway, so it's not a big deal. You get that centered as you can. And then I tried to do it via impact the first couple times, but it's not worth it. The impact just makes a bunch of noise, and it's not really that effective. Oh, WD-40. That always helps. Get a little bit on the back on that stud. I'll put a little on this one while I'm thinking about it. And then you just draw them in. Just draw them in by tightening this lug nut. You got to kind of fight it a little bit. So I'm going to get these drawn in, and then I'll bring you guys back once we're putting wheels on. Well, here we are back looking at the wheel sitting on the car, and here's a better up close look at just, a standard acorn style lug nut. You can see in there, it's hard to tell, but it is tapered, and there's about what you would get thread engagement wise, which really isn't that bad. So I've got 4 out of 5 lug nuts on. I also wanted to show quick here, if I can reach and grab the bag here, a side by side of the studs that were in this versus what I replaced them with. Let me get these lined up a little bit better. Like I said, they are a little bit longer. Same thread pitch, same everything. But there's an extra maybe 1/4 inch there. And I'm actually fairly comfortable with this much thread engagement with these style lug nuts. But if I was using the factory studs, I would be not very comfortable with that because that's not very good thread engagement. So I'm going to get this last lug nut on here. And I would say I'm pretty comfortable using this like it is. But I still am going to get the other lug nuts that are tapered like this but have a shank that goes out to about here. So still want to do that. But I'm going to throw this last lug nut on, drop the jack down, and see how it looks on here. You get a pretty good look of how it sits right now. So yeah, we'll see how this thing looks, and maybe we'll throw a front Cragar on there too. So I'll see you guys in a minute. Well, we're back, and as you can see, we got things kind of set up here a little bit. I guess we'll just kind of look at the back first, see how that all fits. That works pretty good. It kind of tapers in just enough to where it probably won't hit the wheel well if going over a big bump. And it's pretty stiff in the back end anyway, so I don't think it'll be much of an issue. But yeah, definitely looks pretty good. And then the front tires, I just have 3 lug nuts holding that on. I got to gather up some more lug nuts and washers because those are actually the unilug. So more work to do there, and it's not sitting 100% level, but stand back here, you can kind of get a good feeling of how the car is going to look. And I've still got to do the same to the other side, so once again, it's not really level sitting side to side quite either, but yeah, definitely better than it was before. And another thing I'll also mention is when you put new studs in, you want to try to get them as tight as you can when putting them in, but you're going to want to just check your lug nuts every once in a while once you're first using them afterwards, because they're going to probably shift a little bit, and as you tighten your lug nuts, if there's any slop, you're actually pulling it back the rest of the way through. So just keep an eye on that. Another thing we'll be doing is we'll be changing the purple drum situation, because I don't know who did that or whose idea that was, but it's not exactly my favorite thing. It's dark, so you can't really see it, but in the daylight, you could definitely probably see those purple drums sticking through. So those will be painted a red, like they came from the factory. So that'll be pretty cool, the red poking through behind the nice shiny chrome Cragars. For anybody wondering sizes, those are 15 by 10s with N50 Pro-Track tires. These are, I don't know what brand, but they are 215/70, I think, on 15 by 7s. Let me see if I can get that. It's a Grand Am tire. Yeah, right there. 215/70/15. So that's a pretty good height. It's maybe a hair tall in the front. If you kind of look at it dead on, it's pretty good, but definitely has the staggered look. And looking from behind, it's pretty cool. You can see front and rear there. Definitely quite a difference, staggering wise, for that. So yeah, we'll see how these go. I still got to get the other side done, and we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff to this Coronet to make it our kind of nice driver for the spring here. So definitely stay tuned for that stuff, and I appreciate everybody watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And there are t-shirts and hoodies from Gunslinger Graphics of this car. So definitely check that out. I'll put a link in the description, and I'll probably pin a comment. So appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see you in the next one.